what can you do to get a little bit more accurate, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more specific with your purpose? Because when you're living on purpose, and I know you hear a lot of people say that, but when you're living on purpose, there's really nothing like it.
So your purpose comes from your core, and your core has a strength and a weakness, and the weakness brings massive pain. And so your purpose comes from your deepest pain.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode as much as Alan and I did. It was episode number 1510, an open conversation about overwhelm. I want to do more of those episodes because usually we come up with a title and then we do an episode on it. That was just an open conversation, and I enjoyed that very much. I thought it kind of took us back to the hyperconscious days. Today, for episode number 1511, happy Sunday. What does purpose mean to you? So Alan usually asks me, hey man, why are we doing this episode? What was the story, the example, the origin story, as he says? And I said, dude, I don't know. I got nothing. I thought of it last week and I want to do an episode on it, and that's as far as I got. He's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. Let's just roll and do it. And in this moment, Alan and I are very tired. It's been a long week. There's been a lot of changes. We're recording this on Thursday, so we still got a few days to go. But when I think about purpose, I think about how do you show up consistently? And why do you show up the way you do? Purpose is reason. So if somebody says, what is the purpose of you putting, I have electrolytes here in front of me. They are not sponsored. We're not sponsored by them, so I'm not going to say what they are. But what is the reason? What is the purpose of those? Well, they help you replenish things that you lose when you sweat a lot. That's the reason. That's the purpose of the product. When I think of a human's purpose, I think of a long-term through line of something that you identify with. My purpose, I've said this for the last however many years, maybe 5 years, my purpose is to be the person I needed at my deepest point, at my lowest point, at my worst point, at rock bottom. And even when I'm tired, I want to show up and I want to make you laugh and I want you to have some sort of value added to your life. And I said that right before this, I was on a podcast and we were talking about purpose. And I said, purpose is a responsibility. The purpose that I stated at the beginning of this interview, to be the person I needed at my lowest point, that's what I said to this person. I said, when I show up, I'm tired and I don't really feel great and I feel off, but my purpose, the reason for me being here today is to give everything I have. And that's who I want to be. That's who I'm supposed to be. That's my purpose. That's my reason for doing this podcast. That's my reason for having the personality I have. That's my reason for trying to make people laugh. Taryn, myself, and Pops went out to dinner recently for his birthday, and the waitress was not happy. She just was not happy. So I told Taryn and Pop, I said, I'm going to make her laugh. By the end of this, I'm going to break it, and I'm going to get her to laugh. And she laughed a couple times. That's just who I am. That's part of my purpose. My purpose is to leave places better than I found them, to maybe be able to make someone's day with a funny joke or a compliment. So the purpose is the through line. I feel like it's the through line of intention. That's what purpose means to me. So my question for you, whether you're watching or listening, what does it mean to you? Does it seem foggy and blurry? I don't know. I don't really understand. My purpose, I'm not sure. Maybe to be a good parent. I don't know. I haven't found it yet. Or are you certain to be the best parent humanly possible and always be there for the person I take care of in the right way to the best of my ability? Or maybe it's something completely different. So that's my early question. Alan, what does purpose mean to you?
Heavy question.
Definitely.
One of the heaviest there is. And it's interesting because 1,510 episodes ago, you asked me that question on the very first Hyperconscious podcast episode.
I do not remember that.
And I gave you an algorithm on how to figure out your purpose. This will be a little different. What does purpose mean to me? So in my office, I look over here, and there's a whiteboard with my purpose written out. And it says, You are here to maximize your own unique potential and to help others do the same. Everything else is secondary. But then you go underneath that. And it's like, well, how do you do that? Okay, well, you help someone grow. And when they grow, they impact more people. And when they impact more people, they become more profitable. And then they reinvest that profit into more growth and more impact, and then they become even more profitable. So the how is very different than the why. And it's like, well, why? Why is that your purpose, Alan? Why is that your purpose, Kev, to be the person you needed at your darkest moment? And you can spend your life asking that question, and I honestly think you should. I think the only wrong answer is to stop searching. And I don't think our purpose is something that you go create or manufacture. I think it's something you uncover. I think it's something that as you grow and learn about yourself, about other people, and about the world, I think it becomes more and more clear. We're all born and we don't really know who we are yet. We don't really, Kevin and I were born in a small town, so we don't really, we're in our small little middle school, and then we're in a small little high school, and then I went to college, Kevin hadn't, he went into the workforce. But we have our own little world. We hadn't traveled yet. We don't know outside of our own little bubbles. And so we don't really know who we are yet or why we are yet. And I think that we're born naked, scared, and ignorant, and we don't know what makes us different yet. I always say if you were born in China, you probably speak Chinese. If you were born, I had a friend from Shanghai, and he went to my college. His name is Yele. And I asked him all about China and all about Shanghai and all about his upbringing. And he asked me about mine, and it's so different. It's so different, but there's similarities. The point is if I was born in Shanghai, I would speak Chinese. If he was born in the U.S., he would speak English. He actually does because he went to school and he learned English, in his upbringing. But the point is, all of us are these empty hard drives. We don't have any files on us yet. We are born and we don't know who we are yet. We don't have self-concept yet. And Emilia's done a lot of research about this. Apparently, when you're like 2 years old, and it depends, it's anywhere from 1.5 to 3.5 or something. I don't know. Don't quote me. But you look in the mirror and you say, oh, that's me. And that's called self-concept. That's Kevin. That people have been saying Kevin, but I never knew that Kevin was me or Alan was me or whatever. And so your purpose is something that you uncover over time by learning yourself, by learning how the world works, by learning how other people work, by learning how the human condition works. And it's a search that you search for forever. And there is no one answer. But what I can tell you is my 34-year-old version. My 34-year-old version that it's taken me 34 years to uncover is that quote. My purpose is to maximize my own unique potential and to help others do the same. Everything else is secondary. And that is my through line. And when Kevin says through line, by the way, I've been leaning into my movie buffness, my film loverness. Ever since I was a kid, I've been obsessed with film, particularly movies. I don't like shows as much. I like some shows, but movies are my jam. And a through line is kind of like the theme of a film. So, for example, if you've ever seen Avatar, I use Avatar because most people have seen it. It's one of the most highest grossing movies of all time, globally.
I fell asleep during it. Garbage movie.
Okay. The second one or the first one?
First one. I'm not going to see the second one.
Oh, fair.
Fell asleep during the first.
All right, well, that'll be a debate we have behind the scenes. No, but the theme is essentially it's ego versus spiritual. It's nature and reverence for nature and the environment versus ego, take what's yours. And that's the through line. That's the theme. And so whether it's what happened to the Native Americans when we came to this country in the U.S., or that's kind of what it is. It's the story about us thinking we deserve by default and then taking things that aren't ours, and it's ego. It's ego versus true nature. I would say that's the best through line, the best purpose of Avatar. So Avatar, the purpose is to entertain people, but there's a deeper underlying purpose. That's why I love it. And the deeper underlying purpose is to teach us that lesson. And that the villain in every movie is ego-driven. The villain in every movie is arrogant and abrasive and bully and take mine, get mine, that kind of thing. The hero of every story is someone who has tragedy and adversity and decides to do something about it and become more and try to save the world or the princess or whatever. And the guide is the wise older person who's already gone on their journey and who knows themselves and who knows their purpose and who realizes that all of us have a purpose and that you have to go on the journey to find it. And so my long-winded answer to your question, Kev, of what's your purpose is that's my 3.4 version of it. I'm 34 years old, so I call it version 3.4. I'm about to be 3.5. And that's what it is. That's what we're doing here on this podcast. What is the point of this? Why are you even listening to me?
I usually drift off somewhere.
Just like on Avatar.
Thinking about cheeseburgers.
But if you want to have a rich, dynamic, positive life, if you really want to be more successful and you want to grow in your health and your wealth and your love, that's why you're listening to me right now. It's not necessarily because you like me. You may or may not. It's not necessarily because you don't have anything better to do. You could be doing anything else in the world right now within reason. You're here for a purpose. And I think the only wrong answer is to stop searching and stop asking the question. And I think as you grow older, you'll get more and more and more honed. And what used to happen is you spread yourself too thin on all these persons, places, things, and ideas that are not that aligned. All of us in high school were all over the place. We don't know really who we are yet. We're just winging it. Teenagers, right? Winging it, trying everything, trying every food, trying every person, trying everything, trying every party, trying every barbecue, trying every sport, trying every class. That's what you do. You explore. And then eventually you're like, ooh, definitely not. And then you're like, ooh, this might be my jam. And I think that's life.
I remember, shout out to Cope Daddy. I remember a buddy of mine, Andrew, he said to me one time, he's like, hey, there's a group of people I want to introduce you to. They're called the Bumble Crew because they all met on Bumble. And he's like, it's a group of 4 girls. He's like, but I don't hang out with them for that reason. It's like, I just like them. They're cool. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, man. It is what it is. Let's do it. And I remember, I don't know if it was the same night, but we went bowling and then we went back to their place. And we stayed up until like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I did a next level, it was hyper-conscious. I kind of did like a hyper-conscious speech. Just going off on the universe and it's you change the way you think, you change the way you act, you change the way you live. It's like that. It's that simple, but it's not that simple. Because if it was, we wouldn't even be talking about it. And to Alan's point, the theme, the through line, the vibe. The vibe of your life is connected to your purpose. I've been coaching people for a long time, long before I knew how to coach or what I was doing. But I always wanted to be a good person when I coached people. The good person thing came first. And again, have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Am I perfect? No. Very far from it. But I do try to get better. I take pride in that. So whether it's, whether it's donating to someone's GoFundMe that's in the community without anybody knowing and without putting my name because I don't need anybody to know, and it probably sounds like I need you to know, but that's not why I'm saying it, to the way a waiter or waitress gets treated or a delivery driver, Uber driver. When I went to New Jersey, I had an Airbnb that was like behind a bunch of houses, and there was this private path, and I ordered Taco Bell because it was a long day. And the lady called me. She was like, hey, I'm here with your food. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'll be right out. And I like ran down the driveway to her, and I was like, I hope you have the best day. Have a great day. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it's like, that lights me up. That's my purpose. That's my purpose. The podcast is the vehicle. My purpose is not to be a podcaster. Podcasting didn't exist when I was born. That's not my purpose. That was never my purpose. This is the vehicle to deliver my purpose. My purpose is to be a good person, to be a good person.
But then the question becomes, what does it mean to be a good person in your own unique flavor?
Well, because that's up to you. That's up to you. That's a personal thing. It depends.
I know. I'm asking, what does it mean to you?
to try to not let my mud get on other people.
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
This is kind of the core of why I wanted to do this episode. Someone asked, I don't remember what it was. It was something about legacy. Legacy is Alan's favorite word. It used to be. I don't know if it still is. It used to be. And I said, what I've learned about legacy is I do not think about what people will think of me when I die, because when I leave this interview with you, not you, but this person, I am dead to almost everybody, unless they come listen to our podcast. If they don't, this is it. I get one shot to be a good person, to make them laugh, to whatever. It's the same with an Uber driver. It's the same with somebody who's delivering Grubhub. It's the same. I may never see this person again. This is my one shot. This is my legacy. My legacy is in the moment. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of it that way. Yeah, I'm always trying to think of it that way. Now, again, does that mean every time I'm in an Uber, I'm 10 out of 10, super excited? No, it doesn't. Sometimes I just keep my mouth shut and I don't say anything. Depends, right? I do have to put myself first. But that is the through line of who I am. I want to facilitate a positive experience for people. And I want people to feel cared about and seen and heard and safe. And you can see that in the community, and you can see that in the podcast and in the business and in Alan and I's relationship. That's all for a reason. So again, it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about my purpose. But what can you do to get a little bit more accurate, a little bit more clarity, a little bit more specific with your purpose? Because when you're living on purpose, and I know you hear a lot of people say that, but when you're living on purpose, there's really nothing like it. We do an episode a day, not because it makes us more money. That has nothing to do. It doesn't make us more money. If anything, it costs us more money to do all the content that we're doing. It's not about us. This podcast isn't about us. The business isn't about us. It's not about us. It's about the purpose, right? And hopefully it shows through. But what is your unique flavor of that? And what could you do to get a little bit more clear? I think a lot of us get stuck in a cycle of I could never do that. Or everybody does that. Everybody wants to be a good person. We're not talking about the vehicle. We're not talking about how do you deliver it to the world. We're talking about the through line. Think of every movie about a superhero. It's the same. Almost every movie is the same. The through line is the same. Mm-hmm. But the characters are different, and the city is different, and the villains are different, and the past is different, and the actors are different. It's the same thing. The purpose of an action movie is the same, but they're all different in their own way. I think it's kind of the same for humans.
I know we got to jump. The fascinating thing that I realized in this episode is your legacy is micro, moment to moment, and mine is macro, which is those moments stacked up over a lifetime. And so we are here for a reason on this podcast episode, and it makes more and more sense as I get older and older, and hopefully wiser and wiser. Not hopefully, I am getting wiser. And it's interesting because your purpose is to have a positive impact in the moment, and my purpose was to have the biggest positive impact I can possibly have.
Yep. And
you can't do one without the other. And it's really cool. It's really, really cool. So to Kev's point, purpose is impacting others. It's serving others. The only thing that I would say that is actually needs to be defined about a purpose is it can't just be about you. That's a passion. If you love cooking and you only cook for you, that is a passion. That's great. Awesome. I have passions too. But you can't, a purpose is something bigger than you. It has to be bigger than you. It has to. And so that's the only thing. Other than that, the rest is up to you. The rest is something you uncover. You know the answer. Last thing I'll share, I was on a coaching call, And I learned this from Emilia. Kevin and I have talked about the deepest whys many times, but she does a different framework, which is, what does that mean? What does that mean? What would that mean? What does that mean? What would that mean? And I was on a coaching call. We dug real deep. And there's always a moment where it's like, oh no, this is going to get super emotional. And I don't want to have to share this because this is a deep pain. And I usually type it out and then they bawl. This is like a common thing. So, God, my coaching probably sounds terrible.
It does sound hardcore. But
yeah,
it's not.
We go deep.
It's good. It's good deep. It's good.
You get deep into your heart of why you're doing what you're doing and what's really driving you underneath. Instead of looking at the fruit, we go to the root. Okay. And so anyways, I get to this point where I'm like, oh no, here we go. And there's this point where I say, well, what does that mean? And we get to this one, I'll share this anonymously very quickly. Well, I had to have this person over because we've known each other for 30 years and, I didn't really want to hang out with her, but I kind of did and I kind of didn't. And I knew it wasn't what's best for me, but I knew it was best for her. And I said, okay, all right. So if you don't have her over, then blank. And she said, well, then I'm a dick. I said, okay, fair. All right. And if you're a dick, then that means I'm blank. Useless. Eventually we get to useless. She didn't jump right there. It was like a couple other ones. I'm a dick and I'm inconsiderate and I'm blah, blah, blah. Okay. And we're going into the belief systems. And then we get down. Eventually it's I'm useless. And I said, okay, all right, fair. And this is when I was like, oh no. If you're useless, then that means blank. And at the very bottom, it basically was, and this is what I had to type out because she couldn't get there on her own. And I said that you're not grateful for your life and therefore not deserving of it. And that was the deep. That was the depths, okay? This person unconsciously has believed that if I'm useless, aka not useful to others, aka not putting others first, then I'm a bad person, which is because I'm not deserving of this life. I'm not deserving of this life unless I can be useful. Now, as far as core beliefs go, that's actually not that uncommon, and it's actually pretty useful, believe it or not. Being useful is a good thing, and I have a very similar core. So your purpose comes from your core, and your core has a strength and a weakness, and the weakness brings massive pain. And so your purpose comes from your deepest pain, and there's a way to uncover all of that. And the script that she was running is, if I'm useless, then I don't deserve life. If I don't deserve life, then I'm useless. See that loop? You can get caught in that loop. So the reason she had this person over for a whole weekend, she would never do that again after this coaching call, which is good. And it was not aligned, and it was at the expense of her and her family, is because she didn't feel deserving of life. It's not, you didn't do it because you don't want to be a dick. That's the surface level reason, right? There's deeper reasons why we do and don't do what we do and don't do. And when you uncover that, when you explore that, when you go deep, when you get hyperconscious, you now are in control of it. Now, when that gets poked, you can go, wait. Just because I don't see that old friend when they come into town, that doesn't mean that I'm a dick and useless and undeserving of life. Okay, I'm going to choose differently now. And now she's going to transform her whole world because she knows what's driving. One of the reasons I can influence people is because I know what's driving beneath the surface. Our deepest pains and our deepest purposes are really what's driving. And if you can understand that and you can get in there under the hood of the car, so to speak, you can go any direction you want. So again, if you want help with any of that, this is what I'll end with. If you want help with any of that, I can help you. I would be happy to. I love that. I was on with my therapist earlier. We went deep, and I'm still figuring out how I work and why I work that way. And that's why I didn't say, oh, your purpose is, this, and this is your algorithm on how you get it. That was the old me that didn't understand. The new me realizes that this is a lifelong journey. You're never going to really find the one answer. You're going to get closer and closer and closer and closer while never really getting there. And that's the best it'll ever get.
Heavy one today.
Deep.
But necessary. I've been asked, how do you find your purpose so many times? It's like, it's not that easy. It doesn't work that way.
I know.
If I had that answer, I don't know, I'd be in a different position in life, I'm sure. Some sort of book or
What's
something?
the answer to life's question, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Let me put it in my book. So, last thing before we go. Somebody asked me today, I get asked a lot of questions on podcasts. What do you see the future being like in terms of positive consciousness? And I said, empathy. I think people are going to be more empathetic because now at least we're able to see more people's experiences through, let's just say, digital media. And have empathy for yourself if you don't know what your purpose is yet. That's okay. I don't think you get to choose. I don't think you get to choose when you find it out. It's not, I don't think it's like I don't think it's like that. It's not, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to I'll find my purpose this year. I don't know. It might not even happen yet. Maybe the thing that reveals it hasn't even happened yet. For me, it never connected until I was on Alan's YouTube channel. It wasn't a podcast. YouTube
and even
channel.
then, Kev, you don't find it and that's it.
No.
It's a spectrum. It's 0 to 10. You're closer to understanding your purpose now than you've ever been, but not as close as you're going to be.
Well, even right now, you and I are going through. So I'm not going to be CFO anymore. I'm not going to be the financial guy in the company. I'm going to be more into sales. That's more my purpose anyway. My purpose it's not who I am. Your purpose is who you are and how you want to show up as you, really.
Mm-hmm.
I was at jiu-jitsu today, and it's like, I'm supposed to be that guy. I just am. I don't know how to explain it.
It's not even supposed to be. It's you are that guy.
I am that guy.
This is expressing that through this vehicle, whatever it is. So that's one of the vehicles to express who you really are. Yeah. And CFO wasn't, and that's okay. And at one point, you didn't think sales was either. So, you
don't know until you
don't know until you know.
You don't know until you admit you don't know, and then you start to understand you know more than you thought you did. And eventually you know more than you did.
And then eventually you're like, crap, I know nothing again.
Yeah.
And then it goes round and round. Yeah.
All right. So we got to hop. If you have not joined our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, yet, please do. Again, a safe community where you can grow. That is it at the end of the day. I think that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for a place where we belong, where we fit in, where we can grow, where we can evolve, where we can contribute. Next Level Nation is that place. Tomorrow, for episode number 1512, this was a quote, a version of a quote that Lori Harder said on this podcast, episode 34, I believe. Consistent 70% days are better than spotty 100% days. You hear us talk about consistency often. We don't often talk about consistency even if you're not improving at the rate you want to. I mean, I guess we do, but we're going to talk about that more tomorrow. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep searching and living in your purpose. Next Level Nation.